Due to some unforeseen circumstances, the quality of this video isn't up to our standards. We do want to apologize ahead of time for that, but we are all about the content. The story needs to be told. It is about Walmart working in association with the Humane Society of the United States. And at this time, we'd like to introduce you to Josh Balk, the Director of Food Policy for the Humane Society.
Here at HSUS and at Humane Society International, we measure our work through tangible gains for animals. And on so many fronts, 2014 was a remarkable year. We're working at the international level, the corporate level, and in the states to stop extreme confinement of animals on factory farms. Canada has announced a phase-out of gestation crates. Multinational corporations like Nestle have adopted sweeping reforms to improve conditions for farm animals. We're fighting all across the nation and now across the world to stop the abuse of dogs on puppy mills.
We'll get you out of here, Holmes.
Our biggest gain in 2014 was a ban on the import of dogs from foreign puppy mills.
This is a pretty good day for all of her friends.
The biggest two gains in our campaign to end the use of animals in cosmetic testing came in Europe and India, where both not only are forbidding the testing of animals for cosmetics, but they're not going to allow the sale of cosmetics if animals were tested anywhere in the supply chain, anywhere in the world. We worked with the Congress and the National Institutes of Health to begin the transfer of hundreds of chimps from laboratories to sanctuaries. 3 states tried to open horse slaughter plants. We stopped them by working with Congress to forbid any federal inspections of these plants to kill horses for human consumption. This year we passed 118 laws at the state level to help animals.
All right.
There you go.
How's that? Oh.
And we also prevented Congressman Steve King from passing an amendment to try to weaken many laws that we've passed through the years. Since wolves came off of the federal list of endangered species, they've been persecuted in half a dozen states. This year, we stopped the hunting in 2 of those states, in Wyoming and Michigan. We're working to protect sharks from finning, elephants from ivory poaching, and rhinos from the horn trade. In 2014, we struck a big blow against seal hunting in Canada. An international court ruled that the European Union can, in fact, forbid the sale of pelts into Europe based on animal welfare concerns. We provide care to more animals in more ways than any other organization in the world. We raid puppy mills and animal fighting operations. Our vets are at work in rural areas, on Indian reservations, in urban areas through our Pets for Life program. We're conducting street dog defender programs all over the world, sterilizing animals and vaccinating animals who would otherwise get no help.
There you go. Welcome home.
This year we opened a state-of-the-art big cat habitat at our Cleveland Amory Black Beauty Ranch for tigers who were rescued from terrible circumstances in the exotic pet trade and roadside zoos.
I know.
Hi.
We are there for all animals, in all ways, to bring the biggest changes that our society has ever seen ushered in for animals. Let's achieve even more in 2015. The Humane Society of the United States, you and me, making the world better for all animals.
Josh, my first question to you is, how did you become a food advocate? That's not a typical job. And what was the first step for you in that direction?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be on. And that's a very good question you ask. And, for me, I grew up with dogs. In fact, I had a golden retriever when I was younger, and then a big old Saint Bernard named Hector. And I loved Hector so much. I loved him to death. And I was thinking, you know what? I would do anything in the world for Hector. I would feed him anytime he wanted. I would pet him anytime he wanted. If there was a bus coming towards him, I would jump in front of the bus. And then I saw this documentary about how animals are raised for food. And I saw the horrific conditions that chickens are forced to live, pigs, cows, and how fish are caught. And I was thinking, you know, these animals can feel the same pain as Hector. They can, have the same capability of suffering. They're probably just as nice as Hector too, probably a bit nicer. Yet, I'm ignoring all their suffering. It didn't seem to make sense, and I made this connection. Why treat some animals so well and other animals so poorly? And so I started to do a deep dive in analyzing where our food came from there.
What prompted Walmart to want to make this change? Because that's why we're doing this interview. I saw a posting on Facebook that this was the direction Walmart was taking. I was very intrigued by it. And so what was their first step and why that direction for them?
I've been working at Walmart for about 8 years now, and the company's made up of good people. And they did want to create a policy that improved the lives of farm animals, and they wanted to put in a fair amount of time of due diligence, which is understanding considering how large they are. And during the due diligence process, they saw 10 states pass laws banning some or all of the main confinement systems. The confinement of egg-laying chickens in battery cages, mama pigs in gestation crates, calves in veal crates, and while legislation was happening, we're also seeing corporate policies being enacted from many of their competitors and other major food companies, eliminating the worst practices in factory farming from their supply chain. So what I think they would probably say, and they have said, is that when you see all this momentum happen in this country regarding the treatment of farm animals, including their own survey of their customers, finding that 2/3 of them say they are more likely to shop at a grocery store that enacts an important animal welfare policy than those that don't, I think you can see the progress that has led them to make the announcement recently. So Walmart sells 25% of all groceries in the United States, so they are the largest by far. There's no retailer that's even close to their size. So what they're doing is first announcing the direction they want to go within their supply chain, eliminating battery cages, gestation crates, veal crates, cutting out cruel and inhumane practices like cutting the tails off of cattle and pigs, dehorning, castration of no painkiller, and have a base of principles that show their suppliers the direction they're headed so suppliers know where they're going to have to be if they want to maintain their business. And so that's the first step Walmart's doing. As they publicly stated, this is a journey. This isn't a policy that comes out and that's all they're doing. Instead, what they're doing is putting the line in the sand and where they stand in terms of improving the lives of farm animals, specific practices that have to change, and then work with suppliers to get there and eventually create a timeline to get those practices out of those supply chains for good.
Right, and if you want to take it a little bit further and get into the metaphysical aspect of animals, and we have to eat as human beings. I know there are some people that don't eat meat, but there are others that do. And for those people that do, when the animal is mistreated and filled with antibiotics, we as human beings take on that vibration when we eat that meat. If they're being treated humanely, we take on that vibration when we ingest that meat into our bodies. So if you want to take it even a step further.
Oftentimes, when you think about animals, it's actually less about them, it's more about us. Animals are completely at our mercy. We can do almost anything we really want to animals. And so with that power, with that great responsibility, the question is, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to treat them as if they're machines, as if they don't have the capabilities to feel pain, as if they can't suffer? Are we going to show mercy and compassion to them? And I think that a society is greater when we show the capacity to show compassion and mercy to our fellow beings. And I think it's the right thing to do, but I think it just creates a better society in general. If you look at so many issues of animal welfare, let's say dog fighting or cockfighting, when there's those type of abuses that go on, it's not just bad for the animals, it's bad for children, it's bad for the community.
Walmart's guidelines, they're not making this mandatory, but they are pursuing this, and it's been, and correct me if I'm wrong, has it been a year since they've been pursuing this? And if it has been, When will it actually happen?
When Walmart asks suppliers to do something, if you're a supplier and you want to supply the vast market that Walmart has, you do it. I mean, Walmart, when they operate a grocery chain that supplies 25% of all groceries, if you're a supplier, you want to be in that. You want to be able to sell to 25% of the American public. And the last thing you'd want to do is be out of compliance or not listen when asked to do something by Walmart. So I'm very confident the suppliers are going to listen. It's in their own interest to listen. Walmart wants to make it happen.
Right, and I even saw on Facebook yesterday, I saw an elephant put a paintbrush in his trunk and he was drawing images, so fascinating too. But yes, we need to revere our animal kingdom in a much greater stance. So many thanks to the Humane Society of the United States for allowing the Global Rescuers to conduct this interview, and many thanks to Walmart for stepping up to the plate.